5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What is going on, good people of the... I am not doing that today. What is going on, good people of the internet? It is time once again for us to come together as Black nerds, as African American nerds, blerds, whatever you want to call us. We are here once again to talk about anything we want to talk about when it comes to nerdiness in culture, whether it be Power Rangers like we're doing tonight, whether it be comic books, anime, movies, whatever we want to talk about. Well, we'll talk about Watchmen at some point because I feel like Travis is just triggered about the fact that it's canceled. But whatever.
What?
He's secretly triggered. Even though he says he's not, I feel like he's secretly triggered.
No.
Anyway. We come together once again to talk about whatever we want to talk about because we have this platform and we're going to use it to the best of our ability. Don't forget that you listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, YouTube, all the things except for SoundCloud because we don't support SoundCloud. All right. And don't forget, you can listen to this podcast on... No, I'm going backwards. I'm on social media now. If you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Blerd Grounds. You can follow the website on Comics Ground on Twitter, Instagram at On Comics Ground. And you can check out our website on comicsground.com. Put some hyphens between those words for me. That way you can look at all of our content, whether it be our reviews, our previews, our solicitations, all that good stuff that we want to talk about when it comes to comic books. All right. My cast is here with me for this Power Rangers retrospective. Unfortunately, our guest fell through for this evening, so we ended up pushing some of our plans back. We were going to have a secondary episode to get through all the Power Rangers history on Monday, but that fell through because we have now realized that our guest would not be joining us this evening. So we are going to continue with our retrospective because Power Rangers still matters, even though we did not secure a Ranger as a guest. So. We just had some communication issues. Maybe one day. But for now, we are here, and we're going to get back to where we started. So from the last episode, we had in space. Oh wait, I forgot to introduce the cast. My bad. So my name is James.
How are they gonna know who we are?
I know, right? They're just ominous voices.
They're supposed to know our colors.
Oh my gosh! Just our voices ominously on their podcast platform. My name is James. We have to my left the sassiness that is our social media manager, Andre Drew. How you doing this evening, sir?
I'm good. I'm ready to pull that Quasar saber out of that stone.
Stop it! I'm
gonna fall through the crevice and become some anti-hero, but then I'm
stop! I'm triggered.
So now we will go to our triggered individual, the hardest working woman in Seattle, the woman who gets no sleep any day of the week, Miss Jasmine. How you doing this evening?
I'm very tired, but I'm excited because I love Power Rangers.
All right. And then we have our resident hobbit known as Afro Baggins, Travis. How you doing this evening?
I'm about to hit you with a judgment morpher.
Judgment morpher. That's a new one.
Big old red ass. Guilty.
That's SPD. Yeah, he just binged it.
Oh yeah.
You gonna put me in a trading card, boy?
Yeah. You're gonna be in my commander deck.
Oh my god. I'm done. All right. No, don't you start that shit. We ain't there yet. Stop it. All right. Okay. So they're talking about SPD. We're gonna back up like 10 seasons and talk about something else. So as we know from last time, we finished off with the sort of end of the Zordon era per se, where we had in space where Zordon perished as Andros struck his energy tube to purify the galaxy with the Z-wave, as fandom has known to call it. And
still pissed at that.
So, but even though somehow there was still evil in the galaxy, restless, and now it has finally come to pass because we are a few years in the future, and scientists and governments have joined together to create a space colony that will launch itself into space to discover new worlds and colonize them, and find a new galaxy.
You sure they're not fascists? Are you sure they're not fascists?
Yes. we'll get to what he's talking about. But no, so Power Rangers Lost Galaxy kicks off with a space colony called Terra Venture that was formed by multiple governments to send a full colony of people into space to find new lands, new worlds to like colonize and make their own. So we have the majority of our Rangers who are either soldiers or members of the operating team of the ship. We have our Red Ranger Leo, who is the brother of one of the soldiers and operators of the ship, Mike. We have Kai. We have Kendricks, who are operators and soldiers. We have Damon, who is an engineer, who is watching over the museum portion of the Astro Megaship, which has been placed as a museum ever since the Space Rangers finished their journey. And we have Maya, who is the Yellow Ranger, who came from the planet Marinoi, which the colony of Terra Venture found while going through a portal into space. So we go from this colony in space onto Marinoi, where where the legend of the Quasar Sabers is told, where the bravest of the brave, the truest, people of all ages will choose to reach for the swords and the stone and become the Power Rangers. So, the evil forces of Scorpius and Furio come to the planet to take the Quasar Sabers and use them for dastardly purposes and take over the galaxy. And as Furio attempts to rip the Quasar Saber from the stone, he is proven unworthy. And the old man chimes out, "Those don't belong to you! You weren't chosen!" That line always sticks with me. This old man is so horribly bad acting. It's
It reminds me of Gandalf.
Chosen. It was so great.
Reminds me of Gandalf.
Yes.
You shall not pass.
And literally, this alien is so mad that he couldn't pull the sword from the stone that he takes the sword he already has, plunges it into the planet, and starts turning everybody into stone. But before we get to there, he enslaves everybody while he's trying to get the sword out of the stone. And Maya, one of the villagers of the planet of Marinoi, falls through a portal in space and time and lands on the moon, where the soldiers of Terra Venture are running drills as they prepare to go in further into space. So that's what Travis was talking about, because we showed him a picture of the soldiers' getup from their gear and their battle armor as they're traveling on the moon and doing these drills. It was reused battle armor from Starship Troopers. Are you okay, Travis?
I'm looking up some Lost Galaxy stuff because I've seen the Starship. That's like a real guilty pleasure of mine. They're all so corny.
Yes.
They're all so corny and they're all like so pro-fascism that it's just, I don't know. I need to see Lost Galaxy.
So Lost Galaxy
it's
really
it's one of the better
actually.
seasons, especially like after In Space, because like the In Space ratings were so good that Power Rangers kept getting to go. Because originally it was going to be canceled at In Space. They're like, okay, y'all did really good. Here's like one more season.
More space opera.
Yeah, it ends up being a crazy space opera. So they're running the drills, and she falls through the portal. We had a few of the different soldiers and engineers find her on the moon. They're like, "Hey, my planet needs help." And they're like, "We shouldn't be a part of this." The Blue Ranger Kai is like, "Nah, I'm getting the hell out of here. I ain't getting involved in this." But then one of the commanders, Mike, Kendricks, and then Mike's little brother Leo, who snuck on to Terra Venture, and that way he could go away with his brother and be a part of this journey. They all go with them into this portal, and Kai sees Leo running there. Even though he's supposed to take Leo back to the ship with him, he's like, "Oh shit, they're all gonna die because the portal closed." Oh no! So he goes back to Earth when the shuttle gets back to Earth, because they haven't launched Terra Venture yet. It's still on Earth. So he goes back to Earth and finds the Astro Megaship. It's been repurposed into a museum after the Space Rangers saved the galaxy. So he goes onto it, tries to hijack it, and the black engineer, Damon, shows up like, "The fuck?
Like, what do you think you're doing? You are doing this all wrong."
So he
this
says,
is how you hijack a ship.
Yeah, he's like, "You gonna steal this ship?" I'm at least gonna help you because you being garbage at it.
Right.
So we go. Are you all right, Travis?
Yeah, I'm watching the first morphing fight of Lost Galaxy. I guess they fight this dude named Furio.
Yep.
Can we? I know it's not supposed to be, but it's really hard when the Red Ranger looks like a budget main character from the first Starship Troopers.
Oh my god! Why you hating on Leo like that? Oh,
okay.
Rico's kind of prettier, but still, my point remains. Like,
oh my god, Leo's one of my favorite Rangers too. You called him one of the best boys.
Yes.
Like he literally is just like this like angry hothead dude who loses his older brother because Furio opens this crevice while they're all fighting him. Because like we go from them finally all getting onto the planet and like Furio's like, no, I will destroy everything because you guys, I can't get these swords, y'all. Like I'm mad. So then to save the swords from getting taken, everybody grabs one of the swords and they're like, wow, we're the chosen ones. Okay, this is a thing. And then they hold the swords to the sky and they turn into Power Rangers, which makes no sense. And they fight the I can't talk. They fight Furio and the little troopers, the little easy enemies of the season, the Stingwingers, and they win. But then Furio gets mad, not only sinks his sword into the ground and opens a crevice, and Mike falls through beforehand, and Mike disappears forever. We now go forward, and the whole planet is turning into stone. So they rush back to the Astro megaship and get away. They save none of the villagers. The entire planet. Well, Maya, but
okay,
like,
but Maya's the main character. She has to be saved.
Yeah, but like none of the actual like villagers besides Maya escape, and they're all frozen on this planet.
You're
and they
missing
escape.
the part. You're missing the very important part where it's actually Mike who pulled the saber from the stone, and he passed it to Leo, and that causes Leo to have this huge inferiority complex where he doesn't think he deserves it. That's like his entire character arc. He's like trying to prove that he's worthy of the sword. The whole fucking season.
You guys should peep the chat. You guys should peep the chat.
Oh my gosh.
Oh god.
You need to stop. He doesn't look like that. Oh my god.
Oh god, I see it.
Okay.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Rico's prettier.
So basically, we spend the whole season basically on this colony like ship going throughout space as Scorpius and his super sexy daughter Drakina, which makes no sense. How this weird crab
is not sexy. She's got
bug
eyes.
Girl.
I don't understand how this creepy crustacean thing could make this woman. It makes no sense. And then
I could be the disgusting
space science
straight male here. What's her name?
I got you, Drakina. I got you. I'll get like, and
she's an evil bitch. She's I forgot about her when we were talking about like scariest villains. She's probably she's up there.
Well, like she was just this like basic like hoe on the set for the first like half of the season. She's like, Daddy, why do you care about? Because like literally. Like she's like all the time she's like, Daddy, why do you care about the Rangers? We can control the whole galaxy without them. But why do you care about this colony? Like, Daddy, like that's literally what she does. Like
that's my point. She's got a point. She's
and then her dad dies.
The operation.
And then her dad dies, and then she's like, okay, now I have to grow some balls and go like here and do the damn thing. And I'm like, now you care?
Well, I'm serious. She literally, in everything that she did, she was very manipulative behind the scenes. Everything she did, she never really lost that. She was a bad bitch, and I have a lot of respect for her, even though she's psycho and just evil.
I don't know, man. Like
I didn't stretch around killed.
Yeah.
She got stretched around killed.
I just didn't think she was all that until halfway through the season. That's what I'm saying. Like it seemed like she wasn't all there.
She didn't need to be. And then when she stepped up, she showed everyone that she was the one that you should have been scared of.
Yeah, that's true.
No one saw her coming. I have a lot of respect for her.
Yes.
She's a good villain. She's a good villain.
Her and Astronomer are top tier villains.
I'm about to say, yeah, Astronomer's better than her by miles. Like, I will say that firmly.
Yeah, but Astronomer was brainwashed.
And Astronomer are
she wasn't a real villain. She was brainwashed.
True. That's fair.
Speaking of which, she also comes in halfway through Lost Galaxy because Kendrick's dies.
Okay, we'll get there.
Hold on.
Straight up dies the first Ranger to die in a series, and it was traumatic.
Jasmine, we ain't there yet.
So anyway, we doing more fighting, all that good stuff.
Yeah, we go through. They start like going into the basic likeness of it. They have like the daily fights, the different plot lines. They start to have different serial things. They get new powers and whatnot. Then we enter the Magnet Defender, which is like this emo like anti-hero guy who's like not really a Ranger in canon, but is considered a Ranger like because of the fact that Power Rangers made him a Ranger, but Sentai didn't make him a Ranger. So.
Whoa.
That's a thing.
That doesn't make a lot of sense because in Super Sentai, it's literally the exact same story.
Yeah, but like they don't consider him. They don't consider him a Ranger in Sentai for some reason.
No, he's an extra hero.
Yeah.
If you're not of the green, the gold, the silver.
If you're not color coded, you don't belong.
If you're not color coded and matchy, you're pretty much an extra.
Which is hilarious because once the Magnet Defender dies and gives his soul back to Mike, who randomly is reborn this way, Mike comes out and goes, "Hey, I have the Doron changer from the Die Ranger like season, and I'm gonna turn into the Magnet Defender." I'm like, you do that,
salad.
Yeah,
you do that.
He goes and does that.
So using a Die Ranger morpher, you go ahead.
So we get through the season. And finally, as we referenced in the last episode, there was the Psycho Rangers. And Drakina, now that her father is dead, gets a hold of the key cards, which is the remnants of the Psycho Rangers' DNA, and she rebirths the Psycho Rangers. She brings them back to life to destroy the current team of Power Rangers, who knows nothing of these people, who were purposely created to be the perfect counters to the current in-space Rangers at the time. So they get trashed by the Psycho Rangers. In comes Legolas and saves Leo from being taken by the Psycho Red, while the rest of them have already been taken.
Andros. Can you call him by his name?
Honestly, Andros lost all respect for me at the end of the recent Psycho book. So like, I don't care.
Wow.
Did you read it?
No, of course not.
Oh, Jasmine. Oh, your heart's gonna break.
Oh no.
Anyway, we'll talk about it later. But anyway, so Andrew, I'll call him. I'll be respectful. Andrew saves Leo from being taken by Psycho Red. They have a bonding moment, and they team up with Mike to go save the rest of the Rangers from the Psycho Rangers. They get to where they're being held, and all at once, after they save everybody, the rest of the in-space Rangers show up, and we have the first ever full Power Rangers team up where they bring a previous existing season back to for a full on reunion special episode. Like,
Whoa.
I don't count Alien Rangers with Zeo. Because just them cutting out extra like parts of season 3 of Mighty Morphin just to give Alien Rangers their own season, I don't count that. So no, denied.
But they came. It's a thing.
It doesn't count. This is the first ever reunion team. This is the first ever reunion. I'm calling you Andros. Andre, that doesn't count. Anyway, so
you and your saltiness.
We had the first ever
Alien Rangers.
We had the first ever team up. It's freaking glorious. We get to part 2 of this team up when the only Psycho Ranger that survived was Psycho Pink. This was done for a reason because Kendrick's actress had getting cancer. And she requested to be given time away from the show to go through treatment. They said, I bet you can't really control that. So what we will do is we will literally, as Jasmine already alluded to, we will literally make the first ever Power Ranger to be killed on screen. And then we bring back the villain from the previous season, Astronema, to take your place as the Pink Power Ranger.
Her name was Corone.
As now known as Corone.
Her original birth name before she became a Power Ranger.
Yes.
So that whole thing got blown up and it was amazing. Everyone was surprised by this because back then the internet wasn't good enough for spoilers. So that was mind blowing at the time.
I cried.
So fucking. I did too. It was messed up. I wept so hard. I loved Kendrick's.
It's
I love her so much. I love her so much. And Corone was fine, but she wasn't Kendrick. But
it was a redemption thing, and I loved that.
It was very good. It was very, very good, and I really appreciated that.
I loved it.
Also, Corone's a lot hotter when she doesn't have the 3 layers of eyeliner on.
I love you too.
Is she still rocking that black tight too?
Yeah,
go ahead, girl.
Yeah.
Okay. So
don't get all matchy with everybody else. Do you?
So we go on. We have more like side adventures. We have escalation of threat with Drakina now being the main villain because her father had been killed by the Power Rangers. We go through here, and then we get to the end of the season where the big climax happens. They end up returning Marinoid back to the living, and not everyone's turned to stone anymore. Terra Venture crashes on a moon near Marinoid.
Oh, I thought they did crash on Marinoid.
They did? I thought it was a moon.
They crashed on Marinoid.
Okay, so they crashed on Marinoid, where like everything's being escalated. Drakina transforms herself into this hideous green alien thing, and it's disgusting.
She went in that cocoon.
She went in a powerful cocoon that turned into this creepy green alien thing. That she has one last fight with Leo, and Leo whips out the battleizer and blasts her to the Kingdom Come.
Point blank range.
And when this happens, Marinoid is returned to its original state. The people on Marinoid and Terra Venture start coexisting. And then right at the end, they give the ultimate respect back to the woman with cancer and go, hey, we're going to let you come back to life. We ain't going to explain how. We're just going to let you come back to life. And everyone
the magic of the morphing grid. It's the magic of the morphing grid.
I explained it as this magical swords.
I like
what it is. You put the sword back in the stone. Everybody on Marinoid comes back to life, and then here she comes. Like, I thought you guys missed me.
I like Jasmine's idea better that like her pink energy was preserved by the morphing grid because like the whole ghost thing, like it makes more sense for her to be stuck in the morphing grid.
It does, doesn't it?
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So that's Lost Galaxy.
It's not like I've written fan fiction for Power Rangers or anything, and I've thought about this.
Have you written fan fiction for Power Rangers, Jasmine?
Of course I have. Are you kidding me? Who do you think you're talking to?
I don't know anymore.
So that was Lost Galaxy. Travis, how do you feel?
It honestly sounds like Space King Arthur.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It
kind of is.
Yeah.
Space King Arthur mixed with Starship Troopers mixed with Charlie Brown looking suits.
Yeah.
Charlie Brown.
He's not even kidding. That's the worst part.
I'm not even kidding. Have you looked at their suits?
It's the head shape, ain't it?
No, it's the chest piece of the Lost Galaxy suits.
Oh my god, that's even worse.
Okay, so we go from Lost Galaxy and we enter Lightspeed Rescue, which honestly, I'm gonna give the premise for it, and I'm gonna talk about a few of the characters. And like Lightspeed is a pretty bare bones basic season. There's some great moments, like the whole premise is that demons have arisen from like thousands of years of slumber, and the government says, "Hey, we need to tap into the morphing grid and form an elite team to go up against these demons." So they get a firefighter, a nurse, a rollerblader, / rock climber.
/ adventurer person,
a performer at SeaWorld, and a guy who flies planes and is kind of a dick. And they put them all on a team together and call it Lightspeed. This man is like the biggest womanizer, and then he still gets the girl at the end. I'm sorry, I never liked Joel.
Really?
He wore her down.
He like his jokes were funny, but it was like, bro, like you shouldn't have got the girl. I'm sorry.
Wow.
She saw hidden potential.
I liked my chocolate cowboy. I liked him a lot. I thought he was very charming.
You're valid, and I respect that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very valid.
Also, he was a Green Ranger, and I just have a thing for Green Rangers, except for Tommy.
What about Damon? Because Damon was a part of Lost Galaxy.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so we get the Lightspeed, where it honestly it has some of the better writing of the Power Ranger franchise, but the entire season is so basic and like getting back to the core of it, because it was like, hey, other than the reunion team up we'll have later, this is the first time that we won't have any real tie-ins to the past. Like Bulk and Skull don't even make an appearance in this season, because in last season that like Bulk and the professor that they got friends with actually go on to Terra Venture and go to Marinoi, which makes no sense as to later why Bulk gets back to Earth, but I don't know.
Because spaceships don't exist.
Apparently. But so Lightspeed is the first season where they're like, hey, we're gonna get back to basics. We're gonna have a pretty cool plot. They're adults, but like whatever, we're not doing teenagers anymore. And they do this whole thing, and it's a really good season. Like it has some of the better characters, like Carter Grayson, the Red Ranger, and one of the baddest mofos there is.
Yeah, he's really cool.
Go ahead, Jasmine.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, in terms of like, I did a blog post once on like types of leaders, and he was like the cookie cutter, like cardboard. This is exactly what a leader should be.
Definitely.
And he was my prime example. I'm very fond of him.
I mean, the man literally drove the truck into the monster, and they hadn't even morphed yet.
He's great.
That was the first episode.
That's just the first episode.
He pulls up with the Jeep and was like, you know what? We're not even gonna morph you. I'm gonna run you over with this damn Jeep.
Everybody's fighting the foot soldiers and getting their butts whooped. Like, F it, I'm hitting this thing with the Jeep. I failed, but I attempted it.
And like he has this moment later in the season where there's these two giant ass monsters that have formed to the point that you probably should call the Megazord. But like Carter's like, nah, fuck that. I'm gonna pull up with my two pistols and I'm gonna shoot these guys. I don't care. I'm brave as all hell. I'm gonna pull up and just shoot. That is one of the bravest moves that Power Rangers has ever done, and I love it to death.
Like, I'm sorry if he's cookie cutter, but
he's one of the best cookie cutters there is.
Yeah, he is. Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Like
I love him.
Like him, you have the Sixth Ranger of the season, which was an entirely American, first time ever American concept. Because the Lightspeed equivalent, which was Andre
QQ Sentai Go 5.
Not my favorite.
Which, ironically, the whole team in that Sentai was a family.
Yeah. Like, they didn't have a Sixth Ranger equivalent in that season, so America was like, screw it, we'll make our own. And we had the first ever Titanium Ranger. Which was Ryan, the brother of the Pink Ranger, and the son of the commander, the mentor of the season, who was like a general dude on the submarine base.
Captain
Mitchell. They had their entire base was underwater. There was an aqua base. It was pretty cool. They had go ahead, Andre.
Looking back on Ryan, he's very Tommy-esque, but a better Tommy-esque.
Thank you.
Yeah.
At least he was just manipulated as a child, not like, I'm gonna put a spell on you, you just gonna be evil. No, he was raised by evil. Like,
his story is really fucked up. Right. I love it so much, and every time I think of one of the most haunting moments in Power Rangers, it's when Captain Mitchell had to let him go and fall and ask the demons to save him. That was so freaking emotional.
Back in the day when they were children.
Back in the day when Ryan and Dana were children, they had a car accident. They fell off a cliff. They're holding on for dear life. And Ryan slipped from his father's grasp. And Captain Mitchell just cries out, like, save him! And a demon shows up. The best demon of the whole season, Diabolico.
Oh, yeah.
He literally struggles with being a villain, and it's freaking amazing. Like, given his name, you wouldn't think he would struggle, but I love it.
Say his name again? No, it sounds like he would struggle big time with villains.
Diabolico. But he shows him as look, I'll save him, but I get to keep him until his 21st birthday, and is like, fine. So he takes the child and turns him into this super badass dude who then sneaks onto the Aqua base and takes the experimental titanium morpher and turns into the Titanium Ranger to go up against the Rangers. It's so cool. It's one of the best reveals ever because they go up against this dude. They take their brand new weapons and shoot the hell out of him, break his visor, and they're like, And Captain Mitchell goes over the loudspeaker and goes, "Stop! That's my son!"
It was so good. Oh god,
so good.
Oh god, it's so good.
So,
oh man, I'm due for a rewatch.
Yeah, like Lightspeed is one of those like seasons where it goes back to basics, but it has some of the most compelling writing of the entire series. Yeah. So, like, whereas the threats are pretty basic, the team up with the previous season of Lost Galaxy was really bad because it was centered around a child actor who was really bad, and it wasn't good. There was a lot of
no, but we got the best line. There's no such thing as
Power Rangers because the random desk lady was like, "There's no such thing as Power Rangers."
Well, no, she said there's no such thing as monsters because
that's what it was.
She kept saying monsters, and her mom's like, "Nah, girl, you crazy."
So we go
literally seeing people get kidnapped. Look, no, sweetie, those are just you're just crazy. We're gonna put you in a mental hospital later. Calm down.
Yeah, those are just men. And
nobody believes her, but Cookie Cutter Carter.
Yeah, Carter's like, I believe you. Monsters are real. I fought one yesterday. It's okay. it's so great. But
and like Drakina comes back to life,
even though it's not the original Drakina.
But she comes back to life anyway.
Because the entire Lost Galaxy, because like as you know from the previous episode, Power Rangers is well famous for not being a union, like certified. They have all these production issues that constantly go on. Where the actress who played Drakina and the actor who played Leo during Lost Galaxy, they found out that the entirety of the whole team up was going to be centered around this little girl, and she was going to have more screen time than them. And they were just like, "Are you serious, bro?" So not only did Drakina leave before filming even begun, so they had to use a face mask for the random lady they got to play Drakina. The actor who played Leo left halfway through filming. Like, they didn't get all of the voice dubbing done, so they had to redub his voice, even though he's standing right there, and it's really bad.
That's terrible. Oh my
That's why
God,
when you look at YouTube and look at the team up morph, he sounds so different, and it's like, what happened?
What? I'm discovering all these behind the scenes things, and it's just fascinating because I never thought to look into that.
Yeah, and so Lightspeed ends like there's a big climax to the villain. They lose their powers for like 2 seconds, and like they finally go.
They willfully give them back.
Yeah, they willfully give them back. So and it ends. They don't like lose them forever. They put them back in like the safe, and like they all go off on their merry way once the demons are defeated. So Lightspeed is definitely a back to basics. That's why I highly recommend it if you want a good solid season. If you want us to see like some of the prime right, that's why when people are like, Mighty Morphin's so good, it's the best, it's the first, it's the original. Lightspeed's right there. The next one we're gonna talk about, Time Force, is right there.
Time Force.
Mighty Morphin is still the best.
Time Force.
Travis, don't do this.
I'm doing it.
Travis, you're a casual. Your opinion matters not. No, I'm kidding.
Like alive for the OGs.
You just got done watching SPD. You're going to say Mighty Morphin is better than SPD? Like, are you okay? Do we need to take you to a hospital?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you okay?
So we go from Lightspeed into the future. The future. We enter the year 3000, where the police of that area are called Time Force. They're going like peace is almost fully restored. There is almost no crime. There's nothing to worry about except for one last criminal, the worst of the worst, Rancic.
Kisnar.
that was the reference to Blerd Crusade. She named the villain of the Blerd Crusade after Rancic, which is very, very funny.
Good job. I applaud you.
Thank you very much.
She told me later. I was like, "Oh my god!" So Rancic is this really big bad dude who's mutated, because the big theme of Time Force is them going against these mutant people or these mutant creatures. Because in the future, DNA splicing is a thing, or you're born with like malformations and whatnot. And like the whole thing with Rancic is he can remove metal from his body and turn it into swords and weapons and stuff like that.
Super badass. It is super badass and super gross.
He's super strong. He's super gross, and he just wants to take over the world. He's really basic. Like, he wants to beat Time Force and take over the world. So you have the mysterious Red Ranger Alex, who goes to go fight Rancic and defeat him once and for all, but then Rancic kills him.
He fucking kills him in the first,
second Power Ranger
5 minutes of the episode. It's great.
Pink Ranger's fiance.
Literally,
Yes!
like right before all this starts, like
Right in front of her.
get engaged, and it's like, oh, now you're gonna die.
It's
The
so
first
great.
episode.
That's so dumb.
Oh god, it was so great. It was so freaking heart wrenching, and that's not even the half of it. Oh my
Yes.
god, James, you have to get to the part. Can you let me tell it?
Yeah, why don't you tell Time Force, Jasmine? Go for
Oh my
it.
god, I love Time Force. Okay.
I'll take a break. Go for
So Alex leads the team of Rangers basically, and they're Time Force officers, and there's 5 of them plus Alex. So basically, Alex proposes to Jen. She says yes, obviously. And then like immediately afterwards, Rancid kills him like right in front of Jen, and it's really heart wrenching. And then he steals a time ship and goes all the way back to 2000, and I don't remember the year.
2001.
Thank you, 2001. Thank you very much. And so Jen and her fellow Time Force officers follow him. And there's just one problem. They get there and they can't unlock their morphers because it's encoded to Alex's DNA because he was the leader. And so they're like, well, shit, now what do we do? And they just so happen to run into West, his great, I don't even know what ancestor, grandfather. And he has the DNA to unlock the code. Also, he's the spitting image of Alex, which is awful. It's so great.
Because there's this moment where Wes saves a Jen from an attack, and he's like, "Are you okay? Like you seen a ghost?" And it's one of the best.
And she's looking directly at him, and it's her fucking fiance, but it's not. It's so great. Oh my god, so good. I also want to say that Mirai Sentai Time Ranger, the Super Sentai version of this, is one of my favorites. They're almost the exact same thing. So it's the same plot line. Very well executed on both sides. I love Time Ranger. I love Time Force. I love Time Ranger too.
Yeah.
Okay, I got really excited. I'm sorry.
You good?
Yeah. I'm happy.
Okay.
Anyway, so basically Wes helps them unlock their morphers and become Rangers, but he's like, one condition, I join your team. Because he's an asshole. He's not. He's the son of a wealthy businessman, and he's like trained and everything, but he's just kind of he's a playboy.
Pretty much.
And they set up a shop in a clock tower, and they fund themselves with odd jobs, but also they, obviously have to keep their identity secret. So it's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great. It's one of my favorite seasons. It's so good. And we have to talk about the Sixth Ranger, who is the second Red Ranger of the season. Oh, also Jen is like the leader of the team, even though Wes is the Red Ranger, and it's great.
He defies gender norms like a boss.
It's so great. Jen is such a badass, and she's amazing, and I just love her so much. Also, Jen and Wes fall in love, which is really, really tragic because, you loved his great, however many great-grandson in the future who died, but then he didn't die because the events that they're changing in the past made it so that he's actually alive in the future, but then he becomes an asshole. And he brings them all back to the future. They have to abandon Wes and... Oh, wait, I missed Eric. I almost missed Eric.
She's so glad she missed Eric.
Eric is great. Eric and Wes are like perfect foils. It's beautiful. They're like the same character, but they grew up in different circumstances, and they could have been friends once upon a time. But then Eric resents Wes because Wes has everything that he ever wanted and he had to work for, and so he gets the quantum morpher so he can become the Quantum Ranger, which is the second Red Ranger, the Sixth Ranger of the season. And then spends the entire season being antagonistic towards Wes and the rest of the Rangers because he works for Wes's father, who has this faction of security police people who... Thank you. This militia that takes care of the aliens that Rancic unleashed upon the city. Thank you. In 2001. because he grabbed a whole bunch of the imprisoned aliens. Thank you.
We're mutants this season.
We are mutants.
Thank you very much. Anyway, yeah. Oh, also, Rancic has a daughter named Nadira, and she is basically Trakina, but with a much nicer heart.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's not wrong.
You want to talk about a basic hoe? Nadira is a real basic hoe.
Yeah.
She's valid though.
She's valid.
Hey man, she got with the Blue Ranger. It's okay.
She delivered a baby.
Okay. She did, and there's so much to talk about Time Force. Oh my god, the writing is really, really good.
I love how the season subtly touches upon kind of like racism in it, but not overtly.
It does. It's like a parallel. Yes, of course. Because the Rancic was ostracized for being a mutant and just cast away, and that's why he became a villain. That's a very played out trope, but in its time, it was really, really well placed and really well done. Also, it was the first time. I think it was the first time. It was the first time that a villain reformed at the end of the season.
Well,
he basically.
Astronomer.
Okay,
but she was brainwashed.
She was brainwashed. That doesn't count.
That's fair.
Yeah. Basically his daughter ended up delivering a baby, realized the wonders of human life and blah, 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 blah. And she went and she convinced him to stop and just lay down his arms and be like, this planet is worth fighting for and worth living for and whatever. It was very beautiful.
After he struck her.
Okay, yes. However,
point being, I'm just saying, he did. He almost killed her.
He realized the error of his ways. Is my point, and then he reformed, and it was awesome. And then in the later crossover, he helped them out. Anyway, that's a long story, but yeah, just everything about Time Force was really, 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 really good. Oh, it was so good.
Okay.
And at some point, we had to see the Lightspeed Rescue Rangers again.
So let's process everything Jasmine just said real quick.
Sorry.
So, backing up a little bit for Eric's sake. Eric, like she said, they grew up in the same circles, sort of as Wes. They went to the same private school, but Eric had to scrape and fight for everything that he had versus Wes, that was handed everything in a silver spoon, from his father. So we deal with that whole subject matter, but then Eric, being a member of the Silver Guardians, the militia that Jasmine spoke on, he finds this power box from the future that was buried in time and becomes the new Quantum Ranger, which, like she said, was the first ever season to have 2 Red Rangers, but they called him the Quantum Ranger because it sounded cooler and it's from science space shit. Why not?
Quantum power.
She said quantum power.
Yeah.
So. And the season has some of the best writing of the entire franchise. I stick by Time Force as one of the best seasons ever. Yeah. So Travis, square up.
Square up, Travis.
You were saying Mighty Morphin. No. See, this is good stuff right here.
Time Force was so good, it also almost got a movie.
It was the only season to be since Mighty Morphin to be nominated for an Emmy.
Was it really?
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I thought, did it win the Emmy?
Hold on, let me see. I thought it won the Emmy.
Yo, real talk.
I don't know if that's fair. They took that from Mirai Sentai Time Ranger, so.
Yeah, they won it. They won the Emmy for outstanding daytime television.
See, good for them. What can Mighty Morphin say about that?
Yeah.
Everything about my childhood.
Travis, why does it feel like you're so far away?
My childhood too. What you mean?
Time Force was my childhood.
Everything about this show was my childhood.
Well, I was just talking to my mom about it today, and I there's something that slipped my mind, and apparently up until I was age 7, I had. Did you guys ever have the plushie Rangers that you could move their arms and they had the hard plastic discs? Okay, yeah. I had a black Mastodon Ranger that I renamed Bill and slept with until 2nd grade, apparently.
That's what's up.
Called him Bill.
You just straight up forgot about that?
Huh.
I probably repressed it because of other memories, but
That's fair.
Oh, darling.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. So, I highly recommend watching Time Force. I was a Time Ranger. No, I don't watch that time.
No, watch Time Ranger too. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, and I freaking love Shion. I named a character after him.
Anyway,
I love him. I adore him.
And Time Force does have the anniversary team up similar to other seasons. They do a whole thing where they bring back one of the minor villains from Lightspeed in this season as Vipera. She had her own car. She was a bad bitch. Everyone loved her. Well, no one loved her. I did, but like Vipera was cool. Vipera was cool. Her acting kind of sucked. Like she was cool.
I liked her.
And like she called her car her Vipari.
She was less of a basic hoe.
Yes. She kind of went out
she
like
wasn't great, but she was a little bit more than a basic hoe.
So when
Jen and the others had to. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go.
No. I was just remembering that we didn't really mention it, but Jen and the others had to go back to the future.
Oh wait, yes you did.
Yeah, you did.
No, I did, but I forgot to mention that they came back, but then they had to go back like finally.
Oh yeah, they finally kissed.
Yeah, they did, which was amazing. Was that?
Yeah, Wes and Jen finally kissed.
They kissed, and then they kissed.
And then she's like, "Bye."
And then but then she came. Like I said, she came back for the anniversary. That's why you reminded me for the crossover. She came back and she was.
We ain't there yet.
She was really badass. We ain't there yet. Really and then leather.
We're at the previous crossover where the Lightspeed Raiders come back because Vipera is a thing, and she tries to take over the world. But then they go, you know what? We're gonna nuke you with every battleizer we have because during Lightspeed, the red, green, and blue Rangers all have powered up robot attachments. Because by the time In Space came out, they started marketing toy things and making different power ups called battleizers. And all three of those Rangers got them in Lightspeed, and then Eric and Wes both got them in Time Force. So they're like, we're literally going to nuke you with all these battleizers.
Yep.
And it was so glorious.
It was very glorious.
Time Force wraps up with Rancic, like Jasmine spoke on, him like being more like taking a full turnaround and redeeming himself.
He turned himself in.
Mm-hmm.
And we saved time as we know it because it almost had it like ripped apart. The entire time stream almost ripped apart, which was awesome.
Yep.
And the majority of the team goes back to the future. Wes and Eric stay. Wes becomes a member and the leader of the Silver Guardians. With Eric has his second in command, and we move forward. They become friends. Wow. And Wes goes through a great arc where he stops living in his father's shadow and becomes his own man, which is amazing writing, and I love it to death.
Blerd Grounds is committed to help amplify Black voices, so we're offering advertising space on this podcast for Black creators to help get their projects the attention they deserve. If you would like to advertise on the Blerd Grounds podcast, email us at bgpodcast@on-comics-ground.com for more information. Thank you, and let's get back to the show.
So we go from Time Force into Power Force.
Oh God!
Time travel to animals.
Yes. So it opens with there being a floating island in the shape of a turtle, as Gosei once told us.
Do not mention that. Do not mention that head's name in ever.
We have to next week.
Do not mention that.
We have to next week.
Do not mention his head.
We're gonna have to we have to cover Megaforce at some point. We're just gonna have to accept it.
But why?
Because.
Okay, so we go from that to an island shaped like a turtle, where the ancient animal spirits that are just giant Megazords are living there in peace, and Princess Shayla is guarding the Animaria. I said it like Megaforce because I've watched Megaforce too many times trying to analyze the Animaria. I'm trying to. I literally spent like 5 times watching all through Megaforce trying to figure out what was wrong with it. So
everything.
Everything.
No, literally everything.
Back to Wild Force. We get to the Animarium where everything is peaceful, but then the orgs, these evil creatures that have been secretly hiding in the earth, finally rise and attempt to take over. So Princess Shayla calls upon 5 adults with attitude to take up their destiny and use the power of the animal crystals to fight against the orgs and save the world.
Yes.
Wild Force. So
Wow Force.
So the entire team has been assembled except for the Red Ranger. The Red Ranger Cole is living with people in the jungle because reasons. And
we'll find out later.
On his 18th birthday, or so they say, they give him what he was left with when they found him when he was a baby, and it was a crystal and a picture of his parents. So they send him off to the city to find his destiny. And when he comes across the Rangers, they go, "Hey, you have a crystal. You're supposed to be our Red Ranger, and we kind of need a Red Ranger because we're getting our asses handed to us." So the
Yellow Ranger leader ain't cutting it.
Yeah, because the Yellow Ranger thinks she's a bad bitch, and she needs to be the leader, and it ain't working out. So they call upon the animal spirits and start defeating evil. They get into a routine. Things are going well. And honestly, Wild Force gets really campy at times. It tries to be Time Force, but then doesn't at times. And it's so well worth a watch just for some of the humor, some of the family dynamics that occur. I love Wild Force solely because of the heart in it. Because Cole has this whole idea, because of him being from the jungle, that he has the ability to touch into anything that has a heart and see its true potential or see its true desires. So he literally spends the entire season trying to save the world because he thinks that anything can be saved. So he tries to, he goes through this whole crisis when he tries to sense the heart of one of the monsters, and he goes, "It doesn't have a heart. I can't connect with it." That was the first episode. He goes through this whole crisis, I can't help this person. And it's
he's powder.
He was that's not a person.
He's powder.
He's powder. Yes, he's powder.
Oh my god.
If no one gets that reference, I understand. But
okay.
Literally everybody around him is that's not a person. Sir.
He's kind of a darling.
Yeah, Cole is beautiful.
Well,
he gets a makeover.
One, but he's kind of a darling.
Go ahead, Jasmine. We didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying it's not my favorite season, but he's kind of a darling. So
he really is.
I do adore him. I also love Taylor because I can't not. She's hot.
Can't not. Yep.
She was one of my first crushes growing up. My God.
Yep.
She's the reason I like
she's referring to the Yellow Ranger that me and Andre just gave shit because she acts like that they don't need a fifth Ranger, that they're doing just fine on their own. She was originally a male in the Sentai, but they're like, nah, we've been keeping Yellow Rangers girls for a while. We're going to continue that trend. They make her the baddest bitch in the room. And it's so funny. Because they're like, no, the Red Ranger's the leader, and she's like, fuck that. She doesn't care.
This girl had a whole ass rule book.
Yes.
About how to be a ranger that's the size of my head. And he just said, forget that.
Yeah.
She's all offended,
because she's from the Air Force. She's from the Air Force. She's fully decorated. She left the Air Force to become a Power Ranger.
Well,
yeah. She flew her. She got stranded because she flew her plane too high and got stuck on the animarium, and it was so funny. So she's like, "Oh, I'll be a ranger. I'm stuck here." Everyone thinks she's dead. It's so hilarious. So she's just living life, doing the damn thing. And the entire season, it has its flaws at times. They repeat the whole villain turns out to be your sixth ranger thing, and it gets
kind of. Zanaku is so good.
But it's so a repeat of Tommy that it was like Titanium wasn't as bad as that, but Zanaku and the Wolf Ranger thing was literally Tommy to a T, and I was like, can we?
But here's the difference though. Zanaku can at least back his shit up though.
That's
Zanaku, and I've said this to you before. Zanaku will literally beat your ass, steal your Zord, and then use your Zord to beat your ass.
Yeah.
Tommy can't say that. Tommy can say, "Oh, I got my own Zord to beat your ass." No, I stole your Zord and beat your ass.
Yeah, he did do that. You're right.
Stop. Not only just not one, not two, but four.
Yeah, he stole all the Zords.
Took a whole new set of Zords to beat you.
I'll give him that. I'll give him that.
I'm just saying.
So we get to our sixth ranger who ended up being a soldier in Princess Shayla's army who used to defend the animarium. He was one of the original rangers, because back in the day there was an original team of Power Rangers, an original team of champions that had defeated the Orgs back in the day and raised the animarium into the sky to protect it from the Orgs. and like stop their pollution, because the whole theme of the season is like saving the world from pollution and whatnot. They're trying to send like do an environmental message.
Because humans are terrible, but
yeah. So
true.
They go through this whole thing, and we find out that Zanaku was Merrick, and they end up purifying him. And Merrick's all emo at first, like, "Nah, I'm not worthy of being a ranger. I'm gonna go play pool instead." So like, am I wrong?
I mean, he is pretty much what I wanted Tommy to be.
Yes.
And that I got in the comic book.
Yeah. and like Merrick finally comes around, he joins the team, he becomes the Silver Ranger, and we finally get to the team up of the season. Well, the first team up of the season, but we get two this round. So we get to the first team of the season, which was with Time Force, and Time Force actually is since in space they have the first full growth, I would say, where you see Wes and Eric have become like the leaders of the Silver Guardians. You see Jen go through this full arc where she has to forgive Rancic for what he did, and that way they can trust him. Because come to find out, there's these 3 reused costumes. I mean, 3 new villains. Because if you look at them, Deviant from Lost Galaxy's mutant form is right there as one of the mute orgs. But anyway,
you're right.
You have these mute orgs that were orcs that got turned into mutants by utilizing parts of Rancic's DNA long ago when he was in exile because humans were horrible, and they finally return after all these years, trying to basically go back to the past and cause as much pollution as possible to ruin the Earth.
Yep.
That way, it's worse in the future.
Yep.
And that I come to find out that Jen went back to the past to hunt them down, but then they all collide when they finally meet up. And it's one of the best team-ups in the entire franchise. Like, there is no team-up that beats it, in my opinion, because of how good it is. Like, it goes above the original In Space Lost Galaxy team-up because of the quality of how they respect both teams of Rangers. There's growth among the cast. There's teamwork. There's this whole scene where Jen comes back and Alyssa, the white/pink Ranger of Wild Force, team up and just take out a whole group of orcs in one fell swoop with these blasters.
Yeah.
One of the best scenes of the whole team up.
Yeah.
that was like, yeah.
Just pew 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 pew.
Literally.
Pew 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 pew. It's like a laser tag.
So when they finally go through the whole motion of it, and then there's this great scene at the end where they catch up with people like the Blue Ranger from Time Force and Adira finally get together. Like, there's this growth. They show that they cared, and I love that whole thing. So
I love the growing relationship between Taylor and Eric.
Yes,
of course.
That was a little meet cute.
We never get resolution on that.
If I wasn't convinced that Taylor was totally a lesbian, that's what I would ship.
I mean, you never get resolution on it, so she can stay a lesbian in your headcanon.
I mean, yeah.
So we go, then literally, we go through 2 more episodes, and we get the next team up of the season. Because come to find out, I believe the 10th anniversary of, it was the 10th or the 15th episode, the 10th anniversary of Power Rangers was occurring. Yes. And we have the return of the Machine Empire from Power Rangers Zeo. And lo and behold, Carter Grayson, Lightspeed Rescue, pulls up to the local park where the Wild Force Rangers are bonding and goes, "Hey Cole, come with me. We're gonna go do some stuff." And it was and the rest of the Rangers are like, "Oh, can we come too?" No, this is a Red Ranger.
Nope, it's
so
forever red.
Exclusive club, only
for Red Ranger.
Primary color can come.
So we go to this to the Nasada spaceship. We return to Nasada from Power Rangers Turbo. We go to the space station where all of the Red Rangers from every single season of Power Rangers reunite. We have Tommy, we have Jason, we have TJ, we have Andros, we have Leo, we have we have Carter, we have Wes and Eric. Everybody comes back for this one round at it. Oh yeah, and Orico, but but Orico's from Alien Rangers, and I don't care about Alien Rangers. But
oh my God.
You know, and also, you know what emphasizes my I don't care about Alien Rangers, Andre? Because the original actor of Orko was not available because he was moving at the time for the team up.
No, that's Rocky.
No. Orko was in the same predicament. They couldn't locate him. They couldn't find out at a Morphicon he was moving.
Oh, well.
So, the guy who did the redub of Leo's voices in the team up of Lost Galaxy and Lightspeed did the voice of Orko in Forever Red.
Oh, God bless.
Yeah, because it says in the visual history that you buy now for like $20 on Amazon that his actor Danny Slavin almost didn't make it because of contract negotiations. So by the time that happened, then you could finally get him in person in there.
Yep. So like, they already called his redub in there, and then it was like, no, you can just be the Alien Ranger because we couldn't find him either. So we fought. All these Red Rangers pull up to the moon and go, "Hey, Machine Empire, what are you doing?" Oh, they're digging up Lord Zed's like giant Megazord that he had built to destroy Earth, called Serpentera, that I neglected to talk about. And because it literally only had like one run where it literally destroyed a planet, and then it was never used again because it had too many battery problems apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
So they're trying to dig it up.
Also, the Machine Empire is the Beetleborgs.
They reuse costumes from another Japanese adapted show called Beetleborgs, something else in Japan. But they had the show Big Bad Beetleborgs. In America, they reused a bunch of their costumes for the Machine Empire for this episode. And literally the Red Rangers just tear them to shreds. And it's so glorious.
And it's very glorious.
It's just a no-holds beatdown. It's kind of great.
Yeah.
And like, no one cares about how TJ got his Turbo Morpher back. No one cares about how how Andros is still doing the damn thing. Like no one cares about how Jason got his Mighty Morpher back. No one cares. It's just like this is the anniversary. We doing the thing. Who cares? It's one of the best episodes of the franchise for sure.
Make up fan theories all you want to. They're all true.
Yes. Well, no, not all of them.
Well, not all of them, but I'm sure some of them are true.
And we go from this to sort of like the wrapping up episodes of Wild Force, where they lose their powers. They're going up against the big bad Master Orc, and they have this amazing moment where they're on a rooftop. It's raining, and they're just people. And Cole gives this speech where he goes, "Look, our powers may be gone, our Wild Zords are gone, but we don't give a fuck. We'll beat your ass."
Not in so many words.
In the pouring rain.
In the pouring rain. He like because he's shirtless. His jacket got knocked off from fighting the big bad. He picks up his jacket, puts it back on, and goes, "I'm about to beat your ass." It's so good. Like, they all do their call outs, and then they don't have their powers. And then the spirits of the animals return and help them defeat the big bad, and it's so good. Yeah. So and there's other episodes in Wild Force where like the embodiment of all the Wild Zords named Animus tries to take away their powers because he's a big hippie and thinks they're destroying the environment.
I have words.
Andre, go ahead.
I have words about that motherfucker.
Go ahead, Andre. You seem very vocal about Kite.
First of all, Kite's a bitch. I'm sorry. It's a child, small little white child. I get it. You're the embodiment of the animal god. I get it. When the villain has to trick you into thinking that humanity is terrible, which it is, but that's not the point here. Why the hell do you think it's a good idea to take away a source to stop the villain from the heroes? Like, motherfucker, who thought that was a good idea?
Fair
I'm sorry. I want to punch that little boy in the face. And then when he finally realizes it, he's like, "Oh yeah, hey Cole, here's a toy. Here's a new toy. Leave me alone now.
Here's a new flying motorcycle to make up for the fact that I fucked up.
Flying motorcycle, which we then use in the team up in the Forever Red team up to destroy Serpentera."
Yeah, because behind the scenes at the time, because this is right around the time that Disney had taken over the Power Rangers franchise from Saban. And Disney, and the producers go to Disney saying, "Hey, we don't have enough money to like do this this extra team up, and like they're like, hey, you guys just did a team up, you don't need a second one. And they're like, no, and they're like, no, this is the 10th anniversary. We want to do a team up, an extra one with all the Red Rangers, and Disney's like, we ain't giving you no more money, so you do what you gotta do. So they go to Bandai, the people who make all the Power Rangers and Sentai toys, Sentai team toys at the time. And they're like, hey, can you help us fund this? And Bandai goes, I bet, but on one condition. You got to pimp this toy we made called the Wild Force Rider in your special. And they're like, So I guess they have this flying motorcycle destroy the big Zord. So that's how I feel about that. Like, we got all the Red Rangers team up for one big fight. I'm not gonna complain about that. Like, there's behind the scenes talk of that they were gonna have all the Megazords come back, but I didn't need that. Like, no, this was enough. This was enough, damn it. So we go from all of that to the first official season, because halfway through Wild Force is when Disney took over from Saban. But we finally get the first ever season where Disney is in full control of the franchise.
Yes.
Oh, y'all ain't gonna do the theme song? I thought y'all wanted to do the theme song for this one.
Go ahead, Jasmine. I'll let you.
No. Go ahead.
No. You first. Ladies first.
No, I exist.
Deep in the mountains, secret ninja academies train our future protectors. Ancient scrolls total 3 who will be chosen above the others. 3 who will become. Okay, I'm done. All right. So this is the first season, like I said, where Disney took over. They moved the entire production of Power Rangers from California to New Zealand. And
because it's so much cheaper to film there. Which is ironic because New Zealand has different like TV streaming laws there, where they're not allowed to show Power Rangers in New Zealand. What? Wait. Was their reasoning because of violence or because Mighty Morphin almost sounds like a fiend?
Violence.
Oh.
That's hilarious.
Speaking of violence and random side notes, Eminem just dropped a fucking surprise album.
Say what? Well, I'm gonna be busy after the show.
Yeah, it's called Music to Be Murdered By.
Well, I'm gonna be busy after the show.
Well, Nick Cannon was murdered, so.
He's got young.
Unlike Jeffrey Epstein, Nick Cannon killed himself.
Yeah, well,
the freaking features on this album. Okay, anyway, back to the point. So this is the first season where the whole production is in New Zealand. They have New Zealand actors. They have a few like American actors, mostly as New Zealand people. And the whole theme of the season, like we just gave them that beautiful recreation of the theme song. There is a secret ninja academy that has been going on for years that trains these ninjas to protect the world from evil. In comes an evil space ninja named Lothor, who returns to Earth after many years of exile to take over the world. So he
genuinely one of my favorite villains.
He's one of the worst.
He's my favorite.
That's an opinion, James. That's
you're right. You're right. But so he kidnaps almost everybody at the school except for 3.
Meet 3 misfits.
Meet Tori, Shane, and Dustin. These late ass people who were late for their ninja training, and they show up and they're like, "Where'd everybody go? Oh, we were supposed to be here." And come to find out, the sensei of the entire school has been turned into a guinea pig. His son is still alive, thank God, who is the tech guru. And they go into the secret bunker where these 3 misfits who kept missing in ninja training and weren't really focused on their goals are given the Power Ranger Wind Morphers. Yep. And they are made to be our new Power Rangers. So they spend the entire season basically in the same fashion as Lightspeed, going back to basics, but using 3 at first, then 5 Rangers, then 6 to go, which is the first season to actually have 3 Rangers from the jump, which is really cool.
Yes.
And they keep it going. The dynamic is really cool. There's a lot more comedy in the series than other previous seasons. I will say that. There's more emphasis on it. The music in this season is trash. That was in my notes. because they basically just start trying to go like full rock with it, like all the freaking time. Like Ron Wesley.
Because we're supposed to be like extreme sports people. Shane's the skateboarder. Dustin does motocross. Tori does surfboarding.
Yeah,
like we're supposed to be like the X Games in this season.
You right.
So we gotta use like the amped up rock and roll music.
I liked it.
You like everything.
That is not true. I fucking hate Megaforce. You know it.
But that's been accepted as fact anyway.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get. I don't want to get there, but we have to get there.
We have to get there. So we go through this season, and then we return to the concept of evil rangers, but this one's a little different. So we have quote unquote twin brothers.
They are not twins. They never
said
they
were.
That.
They said they were.
They never say they're twins.
They did.
They say they were adopted.
They did. They
did. They really?
Yes.
Oh
yeah, they're. I assume they're fraternal twins.
You have a white guy with blonde hair. I believe he was Pacific Islander for the one. I don't want to be. I don't want to misrace him. But anyway,
Hispanic.
Is he Hispanic?
Wait, who?
Blake.
He might be Hispanic.
Google it. Anyway,
I shall Google it.
These quote unquote twin brothers from the Thunder Ninja Academy, which is not near this Wind Ninja Academy, are basically led to believe by Lothor that their parents were murdered by the Wind Ninja Power Rangers. So they are actually they weren't meant by the Power Rangers. They were murdered by the sensei of the school, who's a guinea pig now.
Yep.
And they go on this whole quest to destroy the Power Rangers and kill the sensei to get revenge for their parents. And it takes forever to get them on their winning side. And it's some of the best writing of the season with these guys. Like,
yes,
there's a couple...
because it comes from Super Sentai.
Fair.
Just saying.
And like, there's a couple bumps in the road at times where like they repeat different things and like they go evil again. They go back to normal and yada yada. It's meh. So like updates.
I have updates. Twin brothers. Hunter is Australian, and Blake is Canadian.
What? What?
Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Oh shit! He's my neighbor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm pleasantly surprised.
As you should be.
Hunter looks like an Australian.
Yes.
Well, pretty much almost everybody is of the New Zealand Australian persuasion except Blake, I think, and probably Cam.
Oh, he's from Argentina.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. Cam's Malaysian, so there you go.
Yeah. So when the season goes on, this is one of the seasons where like they emphasize a lot more like extreme shit, like they talked about, and the fight choreography is a little bit more basic. They start using a lot more like unmorphed fights because of how much Sentai footage Disney was making them use. Because during Ninja Storm was the first Disney season, like just use all the freaking. There was literally a behind the scenes quote where Disney at one point said, "Just dub the Sentai."
Yeah,
that's how cheap Disney was about you when it comes to Power Rangers. They didn't want to give them no budget. They said, "Dub the Sentai" at one point.
I hate that.
So the show goes on. There was this moment where the Power Rangers Zords are fully destroyed. That they're losing like against the villain. So Cam, the son of the Sensei, takes it upon himself to go back into the past with the ancient scroll to procure the samurai amulet from his mother, who's dead, and which is very fitting for a Disney story. But anyway, he returned. Am I wrong?
I mean, the fact that we don't have a lot of mothers going forward in later seasons kind of says something, but
damn,
go off.
Like he returns to the future with this power, the samurai amulet, which gives him the power to be the Green Samurai Ranger. And then he also later gets an ancient electric guitar to pilot an elephant Zord. But I'm not going to judge.
I still don't get why we call him a samurai ranger. And
you cut out there, Andre. What'd you say?
I don't get how we call him a samurai in a season of ninjas.
I don't know.
If you're a ninja, be a ninja. Because then it gets confusing with a later season who actually has a Green Samurai Ranger.
It's okay.
Reasons and budgets and
it's okay.
Okay.
So like we spoke on, we have Blake, Hunters, Tori, Shane, and Dustin. We have Cam now as their Sixth Ranger. They go on throughout the season. The villains aren't very remarkable, in my opinion, for this season. Lothar is probably the best one of them all. And when it comes to you have some of his generals like Zergain and Chobu, and then they have more generals later, and then more generals later, and it's just the villains this season aren't very remarkable. The only consistent ones are Lothar and Zergain and Lothar's nieces. That's it.
I love them.
I love them.
They're very comical. They're the comic relief villains that keep failing to be successful villains. It's very quite funny.
Yeah,
it's very quite funny.
But they're not my preferred style of villains in Power Rangers because that just literally there's a point where Lothar's just bruh, I can't destroy the Power Rangers, so I need your help. And then he looks at his nieces. And they're like, let's start a TV network to take over the world. Wait, what?
I mean, I've heard worse.
And they put Lothar in a suit, and it just looks god awful, and it just ugh.
It's great.
But then finally, Lothar finally gets some power behind him, and basically harnesses the power of the Abyss of Evil, which is brought up at a certain point, and he drains the powers of all the Power Rangers, and it looks like he gonna win. But then they go, no, see, we may not be Power Rangers anymore, but we still have the power of the elements that we gained from our ninja training. So we're going to banish you to the Shadow Realm. And, and it's so glorious.
Oh, God.
That's literally how the season ends. Lothar thinks he's going to win because he takes over everything and tries to re-enslave all the ninjas. And then they're like, no, see, we still have our elemental powers, so you lose. And it's so glorious.
That's so glorious.
And the season ends with them becoming ninja masters and training at the school. And then Blake goes off to be a motocross racer because he didn't want to be a ninja in the first place. But then Hunter becomes a teacher as well.
Yep.
What'd you say, Desmond?
I said he's valid.
He is valid.
He's valid. Everyone's valid.
I definitely will admit that Lightspeed and Ninja Storm are probably the best when it comes to going back to basics after literally things keep changing. Like the end of the Zordon era with Lost Galaxy being the tail end of it. And then you have Ninja Storm, which is okay, cool. This is the beginning of the Disney era, so we need to establish what Power Rangers is for new audiences. And they both do the same job very well, having good characters, average and above average writing at times, but then somehow having really bad writing at times, but still being successful. I don't know if you guys want to give any opinion on how Disney took over with Power Rangers.
It was a lot sillier. That's something that I actually didn't like about the show, because as much, like I said, Ninja Storm was my introduction, so I must have fell in love with it. But that said, compared to other seasons, it's not even really close to being one of my favorites. I just have a lot of fondness for it, for what it is and what it is to me in my childhood as my introduction to the franchise. So I liked it for the sake of eye candy. That's about it.
That's fair.
I mean, Jasmine, your opinions are valid because from the visual history, it said that the initial reception of the show anyway was kind of off-putting. Just on the fact that the tone shift was, went from serious to humorous. No team up. The show started with only one female versus always having two females and stuff like that. But towards the end of the season, people started to like it, which I liked it all throughout, just because it was something different from the old same old process that has been going on for at that point 10 years. It's definitely up there in my top 10.
Really? In your top 10?
Very curious.
That's very interesting. It's in your top 10.
We're gonna have to say our top 10 at the end of this.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. Travis, how you doing over there? Listening to us just kind of nerd out over here.
I'm doing my best to keep up, but it's really hard when you forget to mention world-destroying Zords and other things like that.
I mean, like there was a great quote from Linkara from atopthefortwall.com that said that after a certain point, a lot of the Zord fights and a lot of like the weapon fighting tends to blur together. And you only like narrow in on certain plot elements and certain things that are going on more so than like the Zord fighting.
That's
like
fair.
I will say Ninja Storm was like the first season that sort of tried to be more dynamic with the Zords. Like they had different combinations. Like it was the first season that started to be like more like, hey, there's an arm attachment, or like there's like little like new swords and new this and new that for like their Zords. There isn't like a million different combinations for Zords, or it doesn't give you a bunch of battle discs that turn into new weapons and whatnot for your Zords. That was pretty cool. Like there was only 3 different Megazords that combined at different points throughout the season, but they never did a lot of crazy shit. Like Wild Force had like 5 different Megazords. Like that was when it was like, okay, this is a lot.
Yeah,
but I love that episode where the villain, like, because he was a lion tamer and he like tamed the Zords, and they did like 50 million different combinations. Yep. I was like, yo, what is happening? But I loved it too.
So like I definitely will say that like them Zords kind of blend together a lot. Is that fair? Am I saying that? Like, is that fair?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I tend to skip the Zord fights. I will be honest with you.
Really?
I tend to skip them. I do.
Girl.
It's not interesting to me unless like certain seasons like I'm blanking.
Mystic
RPM
Force.
did it. No, yes. RPM and I'm completely blanking.
SPD?
No.
Was it a Saban season?
No. It's I'm talking about Super Sentai now.
Oh.
that's why I was blanking on the name. Rhea Soldier.
Yes.
Both of those
Dino
seasons, Dino Knights
Dino
tend
Knights.
to really integrate story elements into the sword fights, so you can't skip them. I said sword fights.
I was like, wait, I know what she means. We'll just let her.
Yeah. I really appreciate that because for one thing, sometimes the sword. Oh my fucking god! Sometimes the Zord fights are really fun, but most of the time it's the same old thing for me, and you can tell when it gets repetitive because sometimes, like Dino Knights, they don't even go to Zords. They're like, we're just gonna defeat the villain right here, and we're not gonna let him grow.
That's pretty freaking cool.
That saves time.
It does.
It
I
saves
get
a
bored.
lot of time.
I get so bored. I skip them.
That's fair.
It's
I
the
mean,
same
like,
thing.
I'm gonna skip a couple seasons because we'll talk about this next week. But like, Mystic Force was a season where they literally said, "We're going to literally take our bodies and transform into our Zords."
Because
magic. And I was like, that I can get down with. That was interesting to me. Like halfway through the season when they get their legendary mode, and like
that was fucking badass.
The Red Ranger turns into a giant Firebird, and then the other 4 Rangers turn into a giant lion. I'm like, I'm cool with this.
I dig this.
So, like, does that make sense as to why we kind of skipped the Zord fights, Travis?
Yeah, I guess my only issue with the Zord fights, and I'm going to skip to SPD for a perfect example. When they had to fight Katana in Kyoto, and they took the whole station there at light speed, there's no way in hell that they avoided everyone and I saw how big that fucking building is. There's no way they didn't straight up Last Jedi a gang of people on the way there.
Oh my god.
It's just the power of the morphing grid, man.
Oh my god.
You can't explain it. There's no rhyme or reason. It just is.
So I think we'll wrap up on one last season. And then we're debating about doing 2 more episodes next week to wrap all this up because there's a lot more left to cover. So we're gonna try to squeeze. So we'll try to do what we can. But for our final one, we return to the legacy of bullshit. I of course am talking about Dino Thunder.
I love Dino Thunder.
So now, granted, I'm not saying Dino Thunder is trash. Dino Thunder is one of my favorite seasons. I'm referring to the biggest bitch that ever will live, aka Tommy Oliver.
Oh,
so behind the scenes, we find out that the ratings are in decline after Ninja Storm, and as a favor to one of the producers, Jason David Frank says he will come back and reprise his role as Tommy, but Tommy Oliver, the martial artist who randomly decided that he liked race cars during Turbo because cars, goes off and becomes
mostly, but yeah,
he goes off and becomes a doctor. Not Billy, not anybody else.
Wait.
Tommy.
Yeah, there's nothing that says that Billy didn't become a doctor.
Thomas Oliver becomes a fucking doctor of paleontology.
He gets a doctorate. I think you need to specify this for Travis, please.
At the same time,
he gets a doctorate.
Well, to be perfectly frank, he has a doctorate in paleontology.
But at the same time,
he's an archaeologist.
But let's be clear here. I have a better time believing that Aaron became a doctor than I have a better time believing that Tommy Oliver became a doctor.
I mean, you don't know what he did between that time of race car driving and now.
He found himself.
Anyway, so
after previously finding himself after he.
So after the Forever Red team up, like he somehow, or between that time period, he becomes a doctor, and goes through all this effort. Somehow, like finds one of the asteroids that crashed into the Earth that killed the dinosaurs, and finds these dino gems. And we find this, like one of his colleagues, Anton Mercer, has been like mutated into an evil creature named Mesagog, who wants to return the civilization back to the time of the dinosaurs and make it so dinosaurs are the dominant species of the planet. Very creative, very creative. So
he has one of the hardest lines in the whole franchise for me. I can't remember exactly who said it, but he was like, I can't remember who said it to him. It was like something like something about bad guys, and he goes that I guess.
Oh yeah, Tommy goes. Why can't you just take over the world like the rest of the sickos?
No, not that. Yes, but that was a great line. No, it was. He said, I suppose that depends on who you view the bad guys to be.
Ooh.
In response to and it was like it was so fucking badass. Anyway, I fucking love. He's a great villain. He's one of my favorite villains. He probably is. I
agree with that.
Okay, continue.
He's one of the best villains there is. So we enter Tommy after like figuring out that all this is going on, goes to Reefside High School where he is posing as a teacher as a science teacher at a high school.
Is it really posing? He got a job.
Yeah, he's not posing. He has the job.
He has the job.
Anyway,
he is a teacher.
Anyway, I don't believe shit about this man. So anyway, I believe that his doctorate is a forgery. But anyway,
oh my god!
Anyway,
are you big mad?
Anyway, we enter our 3 main characters: Connor McKnight, a soccer player. We have our black character of the season, Ethan, who is a stereotypical black nerd like ourselves. We love him.
I love Ethan.
And then we have Kira, who is a bit like basically what the 2000s thought was an emo guitarist, but didn't really work too well. And we appreciate her.
She was out. Kimberly. If Kimberly was emo,
yes, pretty much. Well, yeah. And we go. We follow their journey as they discover that their teacher used to be a Power Ranger. They discover the Dino Gems and become Power Rangers themselves, and like go under the mentorship of Bitch. And it's like how to be a bitch 101. Be this nigga. But anyway,
wow, you are so salty. Oh my god!
If I spent like we might so Andre, Sunday we're gonna do a whole episode talking about why I hate Tommy Oliver. But anyway,
this is the world he's most tolerable in. Just be like,
you mad?
This is the role where he's the most tolerable. I like Dr. Oliver.
Right. It's funny.
Andre,
I don't like him as White Ranger. Oh, I don't. Sorry.
You were like, right.
Like him as White Ranger, but him as the Reds through Black is okay with me.
I like
he's tolerable here, but like he just radiates bullshit and I hate it. But anyway.
Are you sure that's just not your disgust for him anyway?
So then we move forward with the season and we get our technically 6th Ranger according to Gokaiger / Megaforce, but he's the 5th Ranger of the season. We enter Trent, the White Ranger, who is a better White Ranger than Tommy. But anyway,
of course, that's not hard though.
Also, a eviler Ranger,
a better evil Ranger than Tommy.
Well, frankly, we've said other Rangers are also better evil than Tommy.
Yes.
So that position that's not hard to do.
You're right. I hate the hero worship, but anyway.
We'll discuss that later.
Like Trent is a struggling artist. He is the adopted son of Anton Mercer. He's struggling to find himself when he happens upon the white. I almost said Energem. Jesus, that's not later. He happens upon the white Dino Gem, and apparently the white Dino Gem is evil. It tries to take him over and make him evil. He starts doing evil things. He steals different people's Zords and makes his own Megazord. It's a whole thing.
He's Zanaku was white.
Badass.
Yeah. And it's pretty amazing as the show goes on. There's developments. Jason David Frank.
Oh my god! I think I just realized he's Kylo Ren, but way better.
You just ruined Trent Mercer for me.
I'm so sorry.
You just ruined Trent Mercer for me.
Oh god!
It's the same thing! It's the same thing! He falls in love with Kira! It's the same freaking thing! I'm disgusted! I'm so sorry!
My heart.
Oh no!
Oh god!
A heart. But anyway, so yeah, because Kira and Trent start having a romance, but she's like, dude, let us help you. And he's like, no, I need to do this on my own, yada yada. And I get your parallel, but I hate it.
I'm so sorry.
As Lindsay Ellis once said, thanks, I hate it. But so the show goes on, and you have our villain generals that work alongside Mesogog. You have Zeltrax, who we find out later is another colleague of Tommy's who experimented on himself and made himself into a weird metal covered armor guy. And then you have Elsa, who was transformed by Mesogog into this evil lady who has no affiliation with anyone. She just exists, who ends up becoming the principal of the school, which is just weird.
And then when they find out,
that is weird.
And then when they find out she is the principal of the school, then they fight.
They just fight. It's funny.
They fight in the middle of the soccer field. Everybody's like, "Whoa, Dr. Oliver, what's going on?
Why are you beating the principal, man?
Why are you fighting the principal, man? Mind your business, kids. Go back to class. You're all getting detention if you don't get your asses back in those seats."
For real.
I love this premise.
Halfway through the season, we have Jason David Frank going, hey, I want to go back to America and visit my family. Can I just go for a little bit? And they're like, no.
Yes, they do, because he had it in his contract.
Let me finish. So they're like, no, but what we can do is, since you have a contract, what we will do is, while you go visit your family, you're going to get your ass in a voiceover booth, and we're going to make some random dude just say, hey, you got trapped in a beam of magma by Trent, and now you're stuck in your ranger form, which makes no sense because a brother has to pee at some point. But whatever, a brother gotta eat.
It goes to that separate universe where pee goes.
Apparently, because
stop.
There's a whole thing where it's like he's stuck in his ranger form. Does this man there's multiple episodes during the saga, so it's like, does this man eat? Does this man drink? How does he exist? He helps out with multiple Zord fights.
It's the magic of the morphing grid.
I'm sure in between the day to day,
if you think of it as like their bodies being pure energy when they're inside the suit, then it's not that big of a deal.
I mean, the way Dr. K broke it down during RPM is that like the universal morphing grid is like a life energy net around the entire world. So
exactly.
I can buy that, but like also this man had to have eaten somehow, so I think it's faulty logic. Anyway.
I say as long as he's not a beam of light, that's okay.
That's next episode.
Or ball of light. I should be more specific.
Next season.
That's next season. That's next season. Anyway, so Travis, you watching SPD?
Yeah, I watched the hell out of SPD.
No.
Do you catch that reference?
I wish I didn't.
Oh my god! So we go. So Tommy ends up trying to use when he comes back to New Zealand. They go, hey, let's use your dino. I almost said energem again. Jesus. We use your dino gem to harness the power of your morphing powers, and we turn you back to normal. But I'm invisible now because I need more time. But then they go, now we're gonna use the power again, but you're back, but you're in a coma. Okay, cool. So he's inside of his own mind, but also in the morphing grid, trying to fight for his life in the episode Fighting Spirit, where he goes through different areas and fights the Red Zeo Ranger, not Red Turbo for some reason. And
TJ.
Well, whatever. And it goes against the White Ranger and the Green Ranger, and he's trying to fight for his life, and they all help him reform the Dino Gem to restore his humanity. And it's a pretty cool episode. It's one of the only episodes I don't hate Tommy. So like, yay. Like it's definitely very well acted upon JDF's part. So like, kudos, but also I hate you. So it's like,
so much salt.
There's so much sodium in my veins for this man's.
Yeah.
Like it goes way beyond just like him as a person. It goes to like the hero worship. But we go forward with the entire season. It's like it definitely has some of the best writing of the Disney era. I will say that.
I consider it the funniest as well.
I will agree with.
Consider it really funny.
Oh, you you didn't like the talking cat of Mystic Force?
No. Gingy's fine, but no.
Okay,
not even close.
Fair enough.
Gingy's a thing.
Okay.
Gingy
exists. He exists. Just like Megaforce exists. It exists. That's all it is.
We'll get there.
They exist. I don't have to like them.
First of all, what do you have against Gingy? Okay, what the fuck do you have against Gingy?
I have nothing against Gingy. He's just there.
Oh, you got Jasmine the cuss.
Ladies, let's not do this now.
I got nothing against Gingy. For real, I have nothing against him. He's just there.
We ain't there yet.
Of Mystic Force.
We ain't there yet. That's next episode. So, Dino Thunder ends up being this cap off of like putting the legacy of power to bed for a while. And we finally put Tommy's bitch ass to bed for a long ass time. And
then it returns in
cap, bro.
Boy, don't even get me started. Anyway.
Wait.
I could go. Anyway. So we will stop
him started again.
So we are about we're about a third into the Disney era of Power Rangers. We've gone through the rest of the Saban seasons, and at this point, the show has had a lot of ups and downs. I enjoy what has occurred. You know what? We're only a little bit over an hour. Let's talk about SPD. Let's talk about SPD.
Yes, SPD. I can join the conversation.
because I'm just gonna sit here and not.
Because Travis was an original MMPR fan, and we had him watch SPD because we were supposed to have like Brendan J. McLaren on this episode, but we had some communication issues go down, so sadly he was not able to join us. But let's finish off this episode with SPD.
Yes.
So, in the year 2025, we have Space Patrol Delta is the prime fighting force of the galaxy. They're the police, they're the army, they're everything. And they are keeping the world safe from alien threats. Aliens now live in coexistence with humans on Earth. Everything is fine. There's crime, obviously. There's poor. There's everything in between. And we start off with the season with Emperor Grum blowing up a planet. Who's Emperor Grum? He's the bad guy of the season, and he's freaking crazy.
He's great.
He's kind of schizophrenic. He's a skeleton person thing. He's an alien of some kind. A little creepy.
He's hilarious. His level of petty is something to be admired, honestly.
He has this vendetta against the commander of SPD, Anubis Doggy Kruger. We love him.
Yes, we do.
And this vendetta goes on for so long, and it's glorious because like Grum conquered Kruger's homeworld dogs. We love him.
Homeworld of dogs.
Homeworld of dogs.
And then his homeworld was the first ever SPD, which is glorious. But once we enter with Grum destroying a planet and then coming to Earth to conquer it, we now start off the season with 3 cadets: Sky Tate, Bridge Carson, and Sydney Drew. They are our blue, our green, and our pink Rangers of the season. Sky thinks he's going to be the Red Ranger. He ain't there yet. He think he all that in a bag of chips. He think he gonna do the damn thing because the main theme of the season is that you don't have to be the best of the best to be great. Because the entire story we go across is that we are following the B squad of the Power Rangers. Because the A squad is the best of the best, and we have B squad who is just the cleanup crew for a long time, and then they end up being the primary fighting force once A squad goes missing in action.
Yep.
So you have Sky, you have Bridge, you have Sid, and then you have 2 street-level thugs that they come across while starting off their career as Power Rangers.
Street level? What?
Am I wrong?
Yes.
I mean,
one of them clones, the other one phases. Street level.
I mean, like they have abilities, but like they street thugs like being Robin Hood. Like they're giving from the rich and giving to the poor. Like what? They street level.
Giving from the rich,
stealing from the rich.
I'm tired. Okay,
you're valid.
So that they come across these 2. We have Jack Landers, and we have I forget Z's full name.
Delgado.
Elizabeth Z. Delgado.
Thank you. It's been a minute.
No relation to Danny Delgado, Black Wild Force. Just in case.
Oh my God, they do have the same last name. That's wild. Oh,
yes.
That was
wild.
That was an unintentional pun.
No relation, as Ruckus would say.
Oh my gosh.
No.
So once they are caught by SPD, these 2 are given the choice to join. Z accepts. Jack decides to sit in a cell because he doesn't like the idea, because all he cares about is helping the less fortunate. He doesn't want to be a Power Ranger, but he's like, no, we can't just like give people clothes and a little bit here and there forever. We have to do something bigger. But then finally, as the stakes are rising and they morph and everything's going to hell, Jack finally says, fine, I'll pick up this morpher and I'll go in here and I'll be the Red Ranger. And Sky's pissed. Because Sky goes to Kruger and is like, hey, I thought I was supposed to be the Red Ranger of the team. I'm the one that's been here the longest. I'm the one that's been here the longest. I had the most training. My dad was a Red Ranger. I'm supposed to be like my dad. Why won't you let me be like my dad?
And I say to that, bitch, you thought?
And then McGruff, the crime rock, that was like,
oh my God!
McGruff, that crime dog, said, nah, son.
McGruff,
I hate that name for him.
Humanize yourself. Take it. Lower yourself.
Oh my God.
Chill, fam. It's all good.
So we go.
Only you can prevent forest fires.
You need to get out. It's too late for all of this. So
you like that.
The series consists of Emperor Grum trying to take over the world with machines that he creates or aliens that he contracts with. It gives them machines to fight against the Power Rangers. They steal different things. They attempt to take over different areas. It's definitely one of the best serialized whole seasons.
The continuity is really, really good.
Right.
Because not every episode is like, oh, random plot. a villain, monster fight, whatever. No, like there's literal, like there's racism against robots that's talked about in the season. Like they go deep in like the caring about these characters. Like Scott, Jesus, that's later. Sky's entire issue with his daddy issues is something that plagues the entire season. You have Jack who's
Yes, that episode where Sky is looking like Johnny Cage always has me shook.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Tell me I'm wrong. He's got the shades on. He's all interrogating the guy. And I'm like,
yeah, he starts
crying. So we're about midway through the season. Sky has had some development where he's not so much of a dick and has accepted Jack as his leader.
He's calmed down.
After using his toothbrush.
And Sky is given this mission to go interrogate the villain who has been imprisoned, who killed his father. This guy has the ability to escape through any reflective surface. So Sky has to have his eyes covered with sunglasses that are shade proof. He has to have all of his reflective surfaces of his uniform covered. Everything.
The whole prison cell is covered.
Everything. Yep. There's no reflective surface in this room. He goes into this room. And this dude literally picks at his soul, goes like everything he has. Like I killed your daddy. I ruined everything for you. And then Sky cries one single tear, and this dude escapes. And Sky goes to Commander Kruger like, dude, I fucked up. I can't do this no more. And Kruger goes, listen, I'm not gonna dismiss you. You can talk to your leader. And Jack looks at him dead eye and goes, oh, so you think your daddy would have gave up if this was him? And Sky goes straight up like, I said we hit the streets. Let's go. Like,
yeah. Oh, it's so good.
There's so much good writing in the season. They care. Like there's so much going on here in this show. Like, SPD is literally my favorite season of Power Rangers because of the story you go through of this B squad, these underdogs rising up and proving they matter. So, and then like the whole fight, like the whole episode leads up to then Jack going, "Hey Sky, here's my morpher. Do it for your father." And it's like, I give it to him.
Do it for your daddy.
Do it for your daddy, and it's so good because he morphs
that too.
They even let him use like Jack's battleizer in the Red Ranger suit, and he tears this villain to shreds. He literally just rips this dude in two, and I love it. So when I say this season has amazing writing, like they get to the end of the season, and they're getting like new Rangers throughout the season. You have Kruger who finally puts on his own Ranger suit, which makes no sense because the helmet doesn't fit his snout, but whatever. And it does look gangster. That suit is amazing.
He is catching so many bodies in that outfit. I swear.
Really
literally defeated 100 robots.
He pulls up with his sword.
There was one episode where the Rangers were struggling. They were like, Kruger, can you come help? And he was like, nah, y'all are on your own. That was great.
Stop relying on me, you weak-ass niggas.
Really, though?
He said no.
He said no. You gonna die or you gonna live? Which is it?
Legit. And like they're towards the end of the season, we find out, A Squad didn't go missing or they weren't killed. They went evil. They said, screw everybody, screw Doggy, screw the SPD. We're gonna be evil and work for Grum. We want to be on a winning team.
First female Red Ranger.
Yep.
We get the first
female Red Ranger and she's evil.
She's valid.
The balls of this show.
We find out later from behind the scenes that the producers had to fight Disney on allowing a female Red Ranger.
Hell yeah.
Of course they did. It's the same company that made Stitch have a pink girlfriend.
Yep. You're not
wrong.
I thought
that was his
Why
cousin.
did you bring that back?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. So we get to this, and the A Squad like the fights B Squad, and the A Squad go, look, like y'all second best, y'all ain't shit. We just beat y'all's ass, and they get up, and they're like, oh, y'all think you better than us? And they pull out their power up mode for the season, and they wreck these guys. It is so glorious, and it proves that it doesn't matter if you're second best or not chosen first. you can rise above it and be the best that you can be. So, like, when people trash talk SPD, I'm like, nah, fam. This season's
trash
the best.
talk SPD?
Who's trash talking SPD? I have words for them, and they can cash these hands.
I've heard people talk about it. Like,
and
also it goes back to Travis. It goes back to how people are always like, MMPR is the best. SPD is the best. Please. Time Force is the best. RPM is the best.
I really like SPD, and I have to. Okay, I was talking shit earlier because I'm kind of a nostalgia nostalgia stan. So I tried to watch MMPR after I finished SPD. Holy shit!
The quality improves.
I like
Travis,
it as a child, but it's so corny.
You're right.
Are you gonna watch RPM?
No, he's watching Time Force next. He said he's gonna watch Time Force
next because I want to see Sky's Papa.
Okay, but you have to promise to get the RPM.
That's not his dad, though.
We find out through like it's basically hinted at that SPD was started by the same company that Wes's dad founded, and that's how later on the Time Force Morpher was reutilized to create the SPD powers. But that's just like fan speculation, given the context clues we're given. But it's like
that makes sense.
Like
I was wondering why that fucking helmet.
Yeah. The whole damn suit, or how the Space Ranger helmets are reused for A Squad.
Because they basically look like they're in Space Rangers, but if they played laser tag.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You made me choke on my Diet Coke.
Good.
Anyway, so
might I add the ratings went up when the A Squad Red Ranger was found out to be a girl.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Reacted positively to that, so that
I didn't know that.
That's in the right direction.
And we
didn't get another female Red Ranger for like another decade.
Yeah,
and she was there for 2 seconds.
We'll get there.
We'll talk about Lauren later.
I have a rant for her. I'm gonna defend that woman.
We've heard you
defend that woman.
Like Lauren, like justice.
More on that on the later time.
Hashtag justice for Lauren. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're about halfway through now on the Disney season. At this point, actually, let's start with Travis. Travis, this was your first like kick in the head as to how powerful Power Rangers can be. How'd you feel?
I had a really good time with SPD because, like, we talked about it earlier, where the original MMPR guy for the theme song came in for SPD.
Yeah, Ron Wasserman did the theme song for SPD. Yep.
Right, and there's this weird thing, like if you've heard a song enough in your life, you kind of feel the vibe when the same person makes new music. So I was feeling it every time the guitar solo would come in, like with the same melody as the lyrics, and when they're doing the Zord fights and stuff. Mm-hmm. I was a huge fan of the Omega Ranger because I thought it was a nice, like, Neo plot twist on like the White or Green Ranger. Mm-hmm. With I'm from the future, boom boom, and then just kicks everyone's ass relentlessly.
He got shafted so much.
Mm-hmm. They ran out of budget to cast an official actor for him, so they made him a floating ball of light.
Yeah, straight up. My body is crystal. So he's like in a suit the whole time. I'm like, this is bullshit. One unsung hero that I think needs some recognition is fucking Boom.
Boom. Yep.
Yes, Boom.
Boom.
Boom is
my man's flunked out of the SPD Academy and became like the assistant of Cat Manx, the technology expert and the weapons expert of the season,
and the Cat Ranger.
And she was a ranger for one episode. And this man is an unsung hero because he goes through so much pain and so much like belligerence while he's going through the season. He helps figure out the secret of the future threat that brings the Omega Ranger to Earth and through the time stream. And then at the end of the season, everyone wants to leave SPD headquarters when the attack is imminent and doesn't want to help them fight Grum when the Rangers have been taken by Grum. And Boom goes, nah, F that. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna go in here. I'm gonna be a badass. And he's like, I'm gonna do it for all them Rangers, and I want y'all to come with me. And like everyone goes, all right,
for you.
I bet.
And
like, so yes, Boom is an unsung hero, and I appreciate him.
Boom.
The fact that his actor Kelson Henderson has come back through so many other iterations of Ranger seasons just shows how much of a legacy person he is.
He finally got to wear a Ranger suit.
He finally became
a
Ranger.
We'll get there. Ninja Steel is trash, but like the fact that he finally got to wear a Power Ranger suit was so iconic and so greatness that it's so good.
So good.
So yes, Travis, would you like to finish your review of SPD?
Oh man, there were a lot of corny moments, but I really enjoyed it. Like I was telling you about it a few times when they blatantly showed that Bridge is not only the smartest, but like the most jacked out of every SPD Ranger there.
Bridge is my favorite character, okay?
Hashtag buttery, my guy.
I love him. He's my favorite.
It was the one where they were like, let me do things my way. And then like, so in the same episode, he figures out exactly who the thief was for all the heist things and stuff and throws a car at her. No other Ranger did that.
Yeah.
Everyone thought he was crazy. He's like, nah.
Yep.
He does handstands.
Like, nah, fam, I'm gonna throw a car at her.
He does handstands to think. I mean,
I love that.
He's my darling. I love him.
He is my guy.
He's one of the reasons why Green Rangers tend to be my favorite.
That's fair. That's valid, sir. Like, for real, SPD Goes Down is probably the best season for me. Like, with RPM being a close second, and constantly goes back and forth with SPD, and then Time Force is my third favorite. So that tells you how much power is in the season.
Yes.
So we will go ahead and wrap up there. Next time, you will hear us talking about the rest of the Disney era, and then from there, we will go into the Neo Saban era, which will be a very fun time, and it'll be a lot of me, Andre, and Jasmine bitching. So that'll get ready for the Neo Saban era.
You thought one more about to go down.
Oh yeah, Travis, you haven't seen bitching
before the next episode.
RPM.
Okay.
Fuck Time Force. Pull up Netflix and watch RPM.
Yes, please. Please.
Yeah, like
with me.
Like
I love RPM. I have so many thoughts. James, can you let me take RPM, please?
You get half and you will like it.
Fine.
Okay.
I'll join that train. I actually need to finish it.
You want to finish RPM?
Andre, I'm gonna kill you.
What is wrong with you?
I'm gonna kill you. He got real quiet too because he realized he's fucked up.
Oh my god!
Anyway,
you have to.
Anyway, don't forget, folks, that you can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, all the local podcast platforms of your choice, except for SoundCloud. We are available on all these platforms for you good folks. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Blerd Grounds. You can check out the website On Comics Ground on Twitter and Instagram at On Comics Ground. And you can check out the website oncomicsground.com. Hyphens between those words for us, please. Or you can check out all of our reviews, solicitations, previews, everything in between every weekday. So we will catch you folks next time. But before we do, Travis, what is your closing statement for Legacy of Power Part 2?
James is guilty of being a hater.
Oh my God.
Yes. Electric chair.
Trading card. I honestly, I would take trading card instead of being in prison in like frozen carbonite, like how you are in Time Force. But anyway, I'd rather be a trading card than an action figure. Jasmine, what is your closing statement for Legacy of Power Part 2? She gonna kill Andre after the episode's over.
No.
Don't kill me. I didn't do it.
I think that Dino Thunder is the funniest season. I think that Ninja Storm has the catchiest theme song. I think that Mesagog is the scariest villain.
Have you met Grum?
I have met Grum. But Mesagog was scary. Mesagog was scary. He hissed. He was a scary bitch. I hated him.
He did his.
There was no redeeming, like nothing about him that was like at least Grum had like the tolerance with Moira, like barely. He would like indulge in her little child things. Okay, Mesagog had nothing redeeming about him. Everything about him was terrifying.
Yep.
Okay,
he's great.
Okay, Andre, what is your closing statement for this episode of Blerd Grounds?
Forever Red is a great team up. Yeah.
Kite is your favorite character.
We're not going down
is
that
he
train
really?
again. No,
I'm giving him shit.
No, he is
really?
not.
I love Kai.
You love that?
Kite is a bastard.
I loved him.
We'll talk later.
Great. I'm gonna fight you.
We'll talk. I will win that fight.
Oh really?
Oh Jesus! Oh Jesus!
Shucks. Damn it! And now I lost my train of thought. Ninja Storm is good. It's a good start to the Disney era. Dino Thunder continued that. SPD is like
God tier,
but is peak, but not peak yet. And then just I love Disney.
Yeah,
and
you heard it here first. You heard it here first. Andre is a spy for Disney Corporation.
Yeah, I'm a spy for the mouse.
Get out.
also still donate to Australia.
Yes, very much so.
Yep.
All right, and then my closing statement, as always, is be better, but also I hate you, Tommy.
I told y'all he's a hater.
Stop being a hater, Jay.
We will catch you folks next time on Blerd Grounds. Peace out.